so you've leveled up your network, right? And that's obviously you mentioned that that's something that one of the great things about this journey that you've gone on, right? And one of the things that you're very grateful for. What do you think changed, like, and why? What was the cause, right? It was the cause and effect. Like, why do you think you changed into this person that could now network with, cool people? I don't want to call them cool people, but like, people that you resonate with, people that have a similar mindset, like-minded people, people that you can travel with. You told me you were going to Bali, LA. Like, what changed in you, and what do you think allowed you to level up? Like, a few tips on networking on that front.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just confidence was a huge thing. Like, I was very, people know this. Like, for example, like one good example is, there were some girls that went to my school, and they saw me from the person that I was, like the person I was, very shy, didn't talk to anybody, was just kind of like an awkward person in general. And then they hadn't seen me for months, because I didn't really go to school that much, but kind of like I left school to one side. They were in Dubai, so I just like by coincidence I met up with them, and for them to see, they told me this like a few weeks after, for them to see me go from the person I was kind of, I guess the reason for that is because I was put in a situation where I kind of had to change. I'm so grateful that I went to Dubai and I stayed there for the time that I did. So for context, when I started to do well, in around November, I then made the decision to go out to Dubai, to meet one friend, and that one friend, I was only meant to stay for a week. Obviously, I had to tell my parents at that time that I was doing well to be able to justify that I was going to say that I'm going to go to Dubai when I'm 17. So they said, okay, you can go for 1 week. After a lot of arguing and a lot of like stress, they said, okay, 1 week, to meet I had one friend at that time that was there, an agency owner as well, and I was so grateful that I went to Dubai. Honestly, if I didn't go to Dubai at that time, I wouldn't be the same person I am, because it put me in a situation where I had to change the way I was, in a lot of ways. Confidence was a huge thing in the social environment. So putting yourself in an uncomfortable situation is an extremely important thing to do, especially when you're young. To kind of to come out of your shell, almost, I guess is a good way of putting it. So you have to kind of be in that situation. So I mean, I'll kind of be like, I'll tell you some stuff that happened. So obviously those, so I'd never been able. So I told you, I was an awkward guy. So girls was one thing. I never talked to a girl. Like, I literally had no conversation with any girl at that time. I went to Dubai, and it happened again. I was in social circles, but I was too shy to talk to a girl. And then it started to happen where, I started to talk to a girl. A girl started talking to me. To begin with, I was extremely shy. Like, I didn't know what to say in a conversation. Like, I was just like weirded out. But then like a few days after going out every night, maybe like a week or two, I started to be like something just shifted in my mind where I just started to be a bit more confident. And then I'll tell you something funny. So there was one girl that I was with in Dubai, and this was the first girl that ever flirted with me. I'm gonna be straight up vulnerable. There was the first girl that ever flirted with me.
Let's hear some juicy stories, some juicy Dubai stories.
Dubai stories. I can get into extreme details, but I'll keep it kind of PG. So yeah, that was the first girl. There was the first girl that ever flirted with me, and she was older than me. So I was like, I was so shocked when that happened. I was like, what the fuck? I was like, what's going on? And that, I guess, that sort of gave me the ego boost that I need to be able to be more confident in the social environment. So that's something else that I'm grateful for, that I had that experience that I'd never had before. And that shifted my mindset in terms of talking to people, and talking to girls especially. That was something that changed big time, in terms of, and then from there, from that point onwards, I was just a different person completely. In terms of when I talk to people, I'd be a lot more open. I'd be a lot more confident in the way I speak. The way I dress, even, that changed completely as well. I'd be a lot more confident in the way I dress. I'd never wear something like this before, like a shirt, and nice like clothes. I just felt a lot more better about myself than I did before. I wouldn't just sit there in the corner and not speak. I'd actually, actively, speak. And I'm proud to say that, and I'm grateful that happened. That experience, I went through those experiences, that led to me changing the way I was.
Yeah, dude, I'm very happy that you delved into this, and you talked about this, because that's one of the things that I feel, being an agency owner, gives you, right? It gives you this ability to feel comfortable being uncomfortable, right? Like jumping, the first, you were building up to a point by just jumping on calls with prospects, right? Like just getting those first few calls. Like it is a bit nerve wracking when you're speaking to those first prospects, right? You have to jump on calls. You're uncomfortable. You don't know, you don't know really how to express yourself too well, right? But then you start building your, this confidence, and then talking to strangers becomes easy, right? Because you've talked to so many prospects, right, that you don't know, in a much, in higher stakes scenarios, right? Talking to girls becomes easier, right? Doing all this stuff that would make you uncomfortable, you see discomfort as the way forward. And I think that's massive. Like that's why I think like building a business is not so much about the money you make, but like, it's more about the person you become in that process.
Exactly. Yeah. It's also about a big thing is like unlocking your potential. Like you if you have a self-image, like if you see yourself as one thing, you'll never like you yourself. You have huge potential, but you don't unlock that potential until you see yourself worthy of unlocking that potential. If that makes sense. So you have, I guess, an experience is like one big thing that will be able to unlock that kind of self-image, to be able to say that I am actually worthy. Like before, let's take it back to the girl example. Before, I'd never be able to think that a girl would want to flirt with me. That never came to mind whatsoever. Like, it never ever crossed my mind. But then when that happened, that I was actually, and I was like, let's say this, it was a girl that I wouldn't ever expect would ever flirt with me, in terms of the way that she was. So that having an experience can kind of is a big helper, and the way you get those experiences is by going into those situations, putting yourself in those kind of places where that where you are uncomfortable, where you could experience those kind of situations that you never would have been able to before. That's a big thing.
And then you start getting this little small wins, right? And those start to build up confidence. Like that's what I feel people forget, right? Is the fact that, like, look, the person you are today is not the same person that you're going to be when you hit that 10K month mark, or when you get to a point where like you with your agency right now, hitting 30K per month, right? It's a complete different type of person, and that you've been able to transform into that person because you've chased that discomfort and you've gotten some little wins under your belt that allowed you to, propel you forward to getting those bigger wins, right? It's kind of like you start winning and you cannot stop winning.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's really 100%. So experiences and just getting wins and different little private sort of victories and sort of private experiences that you don't really tell anybody else about, but you know in yourself that I've never experienced that before, I've never got this before. It starts like compiling up and just turns you into, like, kind of makes that, it kind of kickstarts that kind of mindset shift or like shift within yourself to be able to become the person that you want to be.
Is there anything that the money is there anything else that money has helped you with, or that money has, just the way that money has had an impact on your life?
100%. So money, so I don't think that I never actually celebrated the fact that I hit 1K a month. I'm sorry, 1K a day. Because and the reason for it is because when you're around, especially when you're in a situation, so this is another reason why I'm grateful that I went to Dubai. You are around such like immense wealth. Like the people you're chilling with are like billionaires, and they have like money that they like couldn't care less about. So when you're around those people, and especially when they're similar age to you, like maybe like 5 years older, 6 years older, money and starts to become less of an object almost. It starts to become less. You're less scared about a certain figure, because you're around such immense wealth that like a number like 30k a month is so like small. Like it sounds quite bad, but it's so small compared to what everybody else is around you is doing. So that social circle, that network is so important to be able for you to kind of realize that you can be part of that, to be able to level yourself up. So those like small numbers like 10k, 30k, 50k are numbers that in the long run are just part of the process. Like it's not it's obviously good to celebrate them, but at the end of the day, it's just part of the process, and you're meant for a lot more than that. You're meant to be in this kind of bracket of generational wealth where you have money to do whatever you want with, where you don't worry about this kind of small wins here and there. It's more just, not wins, sorry, small numbers here and there. So yeah, that was a huge thing. Then the biggest thing that comes with that is I had it became so, like, it became feasible in my mind. Like I had no fear of becoming a millionaire before the age of 20. Like I had no I had a big fear of how I was going to do that, and if it actually was possible. But being around the friends that I have now, especially in a place like Dubai, because there's so much wealth around you, I had friends that were like 19, 20, making millions and millions, and they started to tell me how they made it, and I could see that my path was very similar to theirs, and I started to understand that the numbers that I was hoping to hit are nothing compared to what potential we actually have, and that I actually have a roadmap now that is, those numbers are extremely feasible. Like I have a roadmap set out in my mind, of exactly how I'm gonna hit there. Like before, a million was like a foreign concept. Like even 10K was a foreign concept. Like how do you hit 10K a month? But then I realized that I had a roadmap after after our mentorship. I had a roadmap of what I needed to do to get there, and it came to like a number like a million. That's about maybe like 5 months ago. That was like unattainable. That was completely foreign. Like a million's like a huge number. But now I have this in my mind exactly how I can hit that very easily. Not easily. Sorry, very simple, and a very simple kind of roadmap. And it just kind of keeps going like that. So I'm now a lot less worried about numbers. I'm more just worried about life experiences and kind of my social circles and all this kind of stuff. So it's a huge big change that made. Yeah.